Hello, tech gurus and newbies. Welcome back to our Tech Now TV. So, what we're going to study today is how to implement a stateful widget. Good. All what we have been doing so far is using the stateless widget. But before we start, let's look at the real meaning of how all those stateful widgets really works. So, someone will ask, what is state? So as you can see here, we say state is what? It's information that can read what simultaneously when widget is built, right? So we need to look at that. And these states normally change during what? Runtime. You understand? So it means state always change. Stateless does not really change. Good. But what we also see is a class that inherit what stateful widgets are what immutable, and the state is what mutable. What do we mean by immutable? Here means classes that extend the stateful widget does not really change, that is immutable. Good. But a state is mutable when it changes. So superclass that extends the inheritance stateful widget will always be a state because it's gonna change and then update what the inherited class for what stateful widget. That is the meaning. So immutable means does not change. Mutable means what? The state changes. Okay, so how are we going to implement that? To implement that, first we're gonna have a simple demo after this explanation. So we create a class that extends what? Stateful widget that returns the state. So this returns a state like createState, and then inside an extended what? Stateful widget. Then step 2, we create a state, and that state is simply a class for the widget that will be what? Will be changed during the runtime, and this will extend the stateful widget what? Subclass. So this will be a superclass of a subclass of a stateful widget, and then within the state class we implement the build method, and this build method will help us what? Display whatever we have on the screen. And inside we have to also call the set what? State function, and on the set state function, this actually draws the widget. It means the display, how it's gonna display anytime there is a change in the state, then this will recreate and then draw that on the screen, and then return or show back in the build method, and then the build method will be picked inside the what? The superclass of the what? Stateful widget from the extended one here. Okay, so we're gonna see how it actually works in the real life. So let's compare this stateful widget and then stateless widget. So as we can see in the table here outlined very neatly for you to really grab the concept. So let me zoom in. Okay, so for this we say stateful widget. Under stateful widget, example will be the checkbox, the radio button, the text field. Yeah, these are basically predefined or inbuilt ones, widget that changes its value. And when we look at the stateless, we can also look at the text icon, the icon button, the raise button. This does not change. No changes in this kind of what? Widget. But here, these changes are that's what? Change, because it really falls under what? The stateful widget. So it changes during user interactions, like the checkbox is check or uncheck, radio button it's selected or not, and the text field input or not. So, and then here we need to override the create state and then return the state. If you really understand this already, you can just skip this section and then move to the sample of the code. So, and then this is used when user want to change UI what dynamically, and then also here when UI remains what constant during runtime, and then here under stateful widget, when widget state changes, the state object calls what setState, and then telling framework to withdraw the widget. Okay, let's get started. Enough of this explanation. All right, let's step into the code. So I have a freshly created project where we're gonna start everything from scratch. Okay, for our first important thing, let us import our material.dat. Okay, so let us import that package, and then we begin. So package dot material dot dat, but package, and then what are we going to call here? We call Flutter here, or Flutter slash what material dot dat. So we can select it right here, material dot dat. Okay, good. All right, so we have imported our material.dat in here. What should we do next? Now let's create our main function, that is the void main. Okay, so for our void main, we will only have our the run app and our material app. Okay, good. So inside here, not really necessary, we can have this just like this, and then we have our run up in here. Run up. Okay, so inside our run up we'll have the material app. Okay, so this one, wait, let me clear this. So inside our run up we'll have what, the material app here. Inside our material app we'll only have the title of our project. Yeah, only the title. And let's call this my stateful app. Yeah, very easy. So we have the title here. Okay, good. Then what else do we need here? Or I think we have to call the class where we are about to create. Yeah, we have not created that, but since we know what we're doing, let me first call the class we'll create next, and the class name will be simply best city. Yeah, that will be our class name yet to create. Okay, so we have run app with our material app, only the title of the app here, and then we are going to create this. We are going to create this class. Good. So let's begin with our subclass that extends what, our stateful widget. To do that, we need to call the class keyword, and then we have the name of our class here. The name is what, best city, and then it should extend the the stateful widget right here. Okay, so inside our stateful widget we need to override the state. How do we do that? So let me add the parentheses, and then we see how to do that. So this is our first subclass that extend the stateful widget. Sorry, I wrote stateless. Stateful widget. Okay, good. So let's override we can yeah, let me do everything manually. we override so that we know what's going on. Let's override. Good. Override our what? Our state create state. Good. So to do that, we use the override the creator. Under that, then we call the state. The state. Yes. And then the state needs to have the stateless widget in here. Just like this. Stateful widget in here. Okay, just like this. Stateful. Okay, so after we have our state, we have what? The stateful widget in here. Then we have what? Create state. Create state. And then in the create state, we have to return our next what? Superclass inside the create state. And how do we do that? It's just call the class name, that one we are yet to create. So let's use the return keyword and then the name of our what? Of our superclass. So we're gonna call it we're gonna add best city state. Let me take best city state. Yes, let's call it this. Then let me use the underscore. Why am I using the underscore? I want it to be a local superclass, and then I don't want it to interfere with other classes, so I use the underscore. Okay, good. So we have our next what? Superclass in here. So how do we create the superclass of this what? Subclass of the stateful widget? So to do that, we'll only use the name of this superclass. So we call our keyword class, and then we put this name here, and then this name should extend what? Our state. And what is our state? So as we call the state here, in here to extend the subclass of the stateful widget, we need to call the state, and then we need to input the name of our what? Our subclass that extend the stateful widget here, just like this. Perfect. Okay. Here, just like this. Then what are we going to do? Now we're going to create our what? Our functions and classes inside this superclass, and this superclass will actually be the what? The mutable what? The mutable class, where it's gonna change and then return all the changes back to what? Our sub class that extend the stateful widget. Okay, good. All right, so let's go to the next. We're gonna build a simple input field where when you type in a city or the best city you like, it should display beneath the input field, and then also have a submit what? Button. Good. So we have what? Input field, a text to display what we input, and also what? A submit button. Very simple. So let's get started. So inside this what? Superclass that extend this what? Subclass of the stateful widget, we need to first have a string that will hold the names. So let's start with a string here, a string, and then let me give it a best city. Yes, best city. The name of the string will be the name of the variable will be best city. Yeah, just like a placeholder like this. All right. Okay, so for best city, what are we gonna do here? We need to have the build method inside this what superclass. So the build method, let's call the build contest. Yeah, the first one. All right, perfect. So what are we gonna do here? Here we have the build here. We don't have the build here because this is a superclass and this is going to be mutable. This extends the stateful widget and it is immutable. It only returns what happens here inside the stateful widget. Okay, good. So we have the widget build contest. Okay, so let me clear everything in here. Let me clear everything in here. Okay, so we have this cleared off. Okay, so inside our build widget, what are we gonna do? We're gonna have our mutable codes in there, and that is the what? The create state. So here we'll return a scaffold. Return scaffold, and then the scaffold should have what? Our app bar and the rest. Okay, good. So inside the scaffold, let's have our app bar right on top, but before, yes, right on top of the app. So app bar, I use the app bar, and then app bar, what should be the title? Probably should be the stateful what? App demo or something like that. Okay, so inside the app bar, what should we have here? Let's have the title widget. The app bar. Inside the app bar, let's have the title. Yes, title is necessary here. So the title on the app bar will be probably, let's say, my stateful widget. Okay, my stateful. Let's keep it stateful app. Yeah, just like this. Okay, so after we have our app bar, what else? Now we're gonna have the body of the app. Okay, so title, make sure you have your title in the text widget. Okay, text widget. Yes, text widget, and then this string will be here at the data side. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so after this, let's have our body here. Yeah, the main body. The main body here. Good. And inside our body, we're gonna have a container, and inside the container we'll have our set state in here, and then all other code right inside this one. Okay, so let's begin. Our inside the body, let's have our container. Okay, container. Okay, and for the container, we gonna have, let me close this. Okay, inside the container we're gonna have a column, and that column will have what? children, and children with the what, the test field input. Okay, so let's begin that. Let me terminate this. Okay, I'll do that. So inside the container, let's have what, a child, and a child will have column, and inside the column we will have children, and children will have the test field inside here. So children in here will have a widget. Okay, so widgets in here, and then this widget will be one is a test field, and inside the test field we're gonna have the on submit, we can have the on change, but let's use the on submit, and the on submit will take a string as an input. So let's use the string, and then the string will be our input. String as input. So string, and then what, user input in here. Perfect. So on submit, immediately we click on submit, we should have anonymous function executing here. Okay, then inside that function we need to set what, the state. It sets the state inside that. So we have user input. Let me convention was wrong. Okay, so here let's go. How do we do that? To set state, we set the state, we have the anonymous function, and that will only hold the name. But before we do that, we should have a test that will help us display or also show before it displays what we will put in the test field. And let's use the debug print inside this. Debug print to simply what, display the appended message to display on the screen before we have what, our input also attached to it. Okay, so what string would we like to display before our input? The string should be no, let's first have the input first here, city first, and then we assign it to the user input as the parameter up there. So user input here first. Okay, no, we rather have to use this one. This is the input, so let's use this one, yeah, instead of that. Okay, perfect. So here we have the body with the container, and the container have a child with a column, and the column have a children, and in the children we have the test field, and inside the test we have the on submit what, an input what, string, and then we set the state. After we set the state, what we have inside this what, holder, best city will be equal to what the user inputted. All right, good. So what do we do here? Now we should call this best city inside our our test widget, and let's do that beneath the test field. So after the test field here, let's have let's first have a child, and that child will be a test widget. And inside the test widget, we'll only display what we want to append to what we'll be receiving from the input, and that should be your best city. Your best city is what? The best city here. This one. The same as this. Okay. So the best city here. Perfect. Good. And inside the tests, I think we should have a padding around this test so that it can display really well on the screen. So let me surround this test widget with a padding. Yeah, with a padding. So let me do this by using a padding. Okay, so let's put this inside the padding. Okay, so this will go straight into this padding. All right. Okay, so we now have our test inside the padding, and how will we add the padding to this? We need to simply do what? Add a padding insert edge here. We learned this in a previous video. Edge insert dot all, and the all takes a value, and that value will be the figure at which it will affect our our input field. So let's say 30. The padding around it should be 30, and then let's style this font or this text font. How will we do that? To do that, we simply have to add what we call the style so that this will look really good. So style, and then we use the text style. And the text style have font size. Okay, font size. Okay, text style, we have font size instead. Okay, font size, and then let's say the font size should be 20. Okay, good. So we have the style here, text style, and then okay, good. So let's see. We have let's go over again. So now we have our main that we call this class called the best city. Okay, and the best city is the subclass of the of the stateful widget. So subclass of the stateful widget, and in the subclass of the stateful widget that extend the stateful widget, we need to have our override state, and that state create state function in here, and this returns what? the next superclass inside the stateful widget, and this is the name of the what of the super what widget superclass, and this is the superclass. This superclass extends the state, and this state is the mutable state because it's gonna change and then return it inside the immutable state. Anytime this one changes, it passes it in here and then display on the screen. Good. So we pass what the subclass that extend the stateful widget right inside this state, and then we have our build method here, and this is where our customization happens. Any function we write here can change during the runtime. Okay, good. So let's go over our code. You can see there's one underline here. Let's have a critical look at it, and then let's see the problems. Okay, so before I go through, let's look at this. We return the scaffold, the up bar. Okay, the up bar. Okay, up bar. Okay. Let's look at the up bar. Up bar. No. We need to have this here. Up bar. Yes. Sorry. Up bar needs to be here. Okay, let's clean this. Okay, good. So we fix our body here. Now let's check this. After this, we have the star. What is causing this? Let's see. We have our padding here. Padding is here. Okay. And then we have padding. Okay. Upper bar is fixed. The body is here. Body. The body is here. Test field. The body container is here. Okay. Then we have our column. Column is here. Okay. Then we have our onSubmit is here. Okay, we have our anonymous function. Where is this anonymous function? Okay, it's here. Okay, anonymous function inside the setState. Anonymous function inside the setState. Okay, then this is what the onSubmit. Okay, so what are we missing here? Submit, setState, submit. Test field. Okay, this one. Okay, good. Then we come down here for the pattern. Let me look at the pattern. Maybe we miss a comma or something. Okay, so we have the pattern here. Perfect. Pattern is here. Okay, we have a child. We have the star. Test and pattern. Okay, the test is here, and then we have the padding here. After the padding, we have the widget. Widget. We have the column. We have the container. We have the scaffold. Oh, okay. Okay, let's save this. Wow. Padding is here. Urge. Child tests. Okay, child tests. Oh, the mistake is here. A mistake, it's really here. The star needs to be inside this. All right, good. And then we have this here. Okay, so I check again. We have the test here, and then a comma here. Excellent. We got it. This nearly just a comma. So if you're coding, you need to be very careful with your commas and then your closing brackets, and also you need to look at your curly bracket very carefully. Otherwise, you're gonna have some errors. Good. So we fixed that. Let me run the code for us to see what we have done with our stateful widget. Okay, but after that, I will quickly run you through this again. Very simple code. So like we started, I showed you how to create the whole stateful widget, and I said first we have the class that extends the stateful widget, and that is immutable. This class extends or inherit the stateful widget are immutable, means there is no change. But the state class is mutable. Good. So let me show you that inside the code. So here we have our subclass, and this subclass is immutable because it extends the stateful widget. And inside the stateful widget, we have the setState that creates the state, only creates the state, and then returns the super class. And this super class extends the subclass that extends the stateful widget. So this is a superclass, and this superclass extends this class, and this class is mutable, means it changes anytime it changes because of the state. It changes and is the build, and I help you draw on the screen, and then it creates a state here and then help you display on the screen. So this is how we implement a stateless widget. That is really simple. First class, subclass of a stateful that extends a stateful widget, and then we have a superclass. A superclass also extends the subclass of the stateful widget down here. Then all your state changes can really happen here. Okay, so here our app is ready. What we need to do is to type our city in here. So for example, we type Beijing here, and then we type enter. You can see this, your best city